Om Sada Acharya
Madhyamam
Madacharya Paryantam Guru Paramparam Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavidyacharaini Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Tat Sat, Om Namah Shivaya.
So we are on Anuvaka number 6 for those who are following the mantra Pushpam. It's page number 20, first line. We'll chant the rest of Anuvaka 6. So please unmute yourself. Bhurityagnav pratitishthati
भूरित्यग्नौ प्रतिष्ठति
bhuva iti vayau
भुव इति वायौ
suvarityaditye
सुवर्यादित्ये
maha iti brahmani
मह इति ब्रह्मणि
apnoti swarajyam
आप्नोति स्वाराज्यम्
apnoti manaspattim
आप्नोति मनस्पतिम्
vakpatischakshuspatihi
वाक्पतिः चक्षुष्पतिः
shrotrapatirvijnanapatihi
श्रोत्रपतिर्विज्ञानपतिः
etattato bhavati
एतत्ततो भवति
akasha shariram brahma
आकाश शरीरं ब्रह्म
satyatma pranaramam mana anandam
सत्यात्मप्राणानामं आनन्दम्
anti samriddham amritam
शान्ति समृद्धम् अमृतम्
iti prachina yogyopasva
इति प्राचीनयोगास्व
So the upasana is continuing. What does he say? The upasaka pratitishthati. He merges or he merges where Agnav. Agnav pratitishthati. So he's talking about the upasaka. And when does this happen? When the body falls, when at the time of death of the physical body of the upasaka, Agnav pratitishthati, he merges with the fire. And iti bhuhu vayu. So what is in the form of bhu? Vayuhu pratitishthati, merges into the air. And bhuvaha iti, what is in the form of bhuvaha? Aditye pratitishthati, merges into the sun. And suvaha iti, what is in the form of suvaha? Brahmana. So it merges into Hiranyagarbha. Maha iti, what is in the form of Maha? Apnoti Swarajyam. He attains overlordship. Apnoti Manaspatim. He becomes the lord of all the minds. Vakpatihi, lord of all speech. Chakshuspatihi, lord of the eyes. Shrotrapatihi, lord of the ears. Vijnanapatihi, lord of the intellects. Tataha. And in addition, Etad Bhavati, the following also happens. Brahma Akasha Shariram. Hiranyagarbha Brahman, Saguna Brahman, has a body which is Akasha Shariram, like all pervading space. And Satya Atma, which consists of the entire universe with and without the form. And Pranaram, he has the all the pranas as the ground on which he plays. And Mana Anandam, he has got peace and prosperity. Amritam, eternal. Prachina Yogya. So this is addressed to the person. O Prachina Yogya, Upasva Iti. May you meditate in this manner. Okay, now let us see a little bit more in detail. This part of the mantra is talking about what happens to the Upasaka after Maranam. So we saw in the last class what happens immediately after Maranam to the Upasaka. You have to recall what the last class said. What happens?
Sukshma Sharir goes away.
He, yeah, that is very, so overall view. What the details are that all the sense organs are withdrawn into the heart. Then he travels through Shuklagati, leaves through the top of the skull, Brahmaranda, and travels through Shuklagati all the way. So what happens further? After leaving the top of the skull, what happens further? He's traveling through Shuklagati. And what happens there is being said. So Phur iti agno pratitishthati. Upasaka merges with Agni Devata. And Bhuhu iti. That Agni Devata is represented by what? The Bhu Bharati. Why? Agni Devata is the presiding deity for the Bhuloka. Right? And what exactly is meant by Pratitishthati? So Shankara says that the exact meaning should be taken as once having merged with Agni Devata, the Upasaka and the Agni Devata are not different. And therefore the Upasaka pervades the entire Bhuloka in the form of Agni Devata. This is the meaning of Pratitishthati, merging. Okay. Then, Bhuva iti Vayo, and we have to add Pratitishthati, right? So he merges with the Vayu Devata, and Vayu Devata was represented by Bhuvaha Vyarati. Why so? Because the Antariksha Loka, the intermediate space, is presided over by Vayu Devata. And then Suvarityaditye. And I said that we have to add Pratitishthati also. He becomes one. He merges with Suvaha, Suradevataha. Remember, these are all Anga Devatas, right? Angi is not there. Who's the Angi Devata here? Saguna Brahman. So that he comes to now. He says Maha iti Brahmane. Having merged with all the Anga Devatas, the subsidiary Devatas, finally he merges with the Angi Devata. And the Angi Devata is represented by the Vyarati Maha, the fourth one. Now, why did we say that this Upasana here has to be clubbed with the earlier Upasana? Because of all the references to the Vyaratis in this mantra itself, right? In this mantra, all the Vyaratis are being talked about. And therefore, Shankara has said that this, your Upasana of the sixth Anuvaka has to be clubbed with the Upasana of the fifth Anuvaka. And the entire thing should be treated as one single Upasana. So Maha here represents what? Saguna Brahma. So that Upasaka, he merges into Saguna Brahma. And this Saguna Brahman is who? Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha is who? Lord Brahmaji. Lord Brahmaji is who? Lord of Brahmaloka. Brahmaloka Adipati. And because of that status, because Lord Brahmaji is Brahmaloka Adipati, and this Upasaka, he merges with Hiranyagarbha, with Lord Brahmaji. Therefore only Apnoti Swarajyam. Since he is no longer different from Brahmaji, he also, in the form of Lord Brahmaji, he is said to have overlordship over all the 14 lokas. Apnoti Swarajyam. He becomes the master of the whole creation. And Shankara says, just as Hiranyagarbha has control over Agni, Vayu, and Aditya. He writes, Anga Bhutanam Devatanam Yatha Brahma. Just as Hiranyagarbha controls all the other three devatas, Devascha sarve asmai angine balim avahanti anghabhutaha yata brahmane. So he has the same degree of control. He means the Upasaka, who has now merged. He has the same degree of control over all the devatas that Hiranyagarbha has. And now all the devatas, when they are offering oblations to Hiranyagarbha, right? All the Anga devatas, they give oblations to the Angi devata, who is Hiranyagarbha. Who are they actually offering it to? They are offering it to Upasaka also, because Upasaka is now not different from Hiranyagarbha. And therefore, he says, uh, one more aspect he mentions. Hiranyagarbha is what? Samashti Manaha. He has control over all the minds of all the jivas. Or you can also say he is the aggregate of the minds of all the jivas. Therefore, he knows the minds of all the jivas. He has control over all of them. That is why it's called Samashti Sukshma Shariram. But now this Upasaka has merged with the Hiranyagarbha, and therefore Apnoti Manaspati. That Upasaka in the form of Hiranyagarbha, he acquires control over the minds of all the jivas. And therefore Manaspatim. Manaspatim means Sarvesham Manasam Patim. Lord of all the minds of all the jivas. And why is that so? Because Shankara gives the reason, Sarvatmakatva Brahmanaha. Because Hiranyagarbha is in the form of all the minds itself. He is the Samashti Manaha. And Shankara adds here a very interesting idea. He says that how does Hiranyagarbha think? He uses all the minds to think. So he has no mind separate from the totality of the Jiva's minds. That we have seen this idea before. That Samashti Manaha is nothing but a aggregation of total Manaha. So there is no such thing as a separate mind for Hiranyagarbha. Shankara says he uses the minds of all the jivas as one entity. Some, what he's trying to say is that do not think of a samashti, do not think of a macro as something which exists separate from the vyashti. The macro and the micro are interlinked. All the micros together only form the macro. There is no macro, there is no samashti separate from the vyashti. And then he says, Vak patish chakshush patihi. So Vak and chakshuhu are karmendriyani. So this is upalakshanam. And therefore, upalakshanam means a generalization. It indicates all the karmendranis. Therefore, Vak patish chakshush patihi has to be taken as the master of all the karmendriyanis. Okay. Then Shrotrapati Vijnanapatihi. Again, Upalakshanam for all the Jnanendriyas. So this Upasaka in the form of Hiranyagarbha has become the lord of all the Jnanendriyas. Again, I will remind you, when you say Brahman here, Brahma, it is Saguna Brahma, not Nirguna Brahma. It is Hiranyagarbha. Okay. And Etat Tato Bhavati. He becomes some things more, right? So some more descriptions are being given. Akasha Shariram Brahma. So one meaning is Akasha Shariram Asya. That is the one who has the Akasha as his body, right? The one who has the Akasha as his body is called Akasha Shariram. Now a question can come. Akasha is Sthula or Sukshma? Think carefully. Anybody wants to disagree with that? Come on, guys.
Vijay, may I try?
Please, Dr. Raji, go ahead.
See, I think, initially they were all in subtle form. From the subtle form, they got converted to gross. So you
Absolutely.
cannot say it is either this or that. Depending on the stage of the evolution, it could be this way or that way.
See,
But
when
we
we
know
say,
Akash
yeah,
as
go ahead.
Virat.
Go ahead,
But
Rutuji.
Acharya we also know Akash as part of Panchabhuta,
Correct,
Mahabhuta,
correct.
and so part of Sthula
Stula Prapancha.
Sthula Prapancha, and therefore Virat as
Right.
Virat.
Therefore, that's what exactly the point is. That Akasha, what Atroji says is correct. That earlier it was Tanmatra, Sukshma Panchabhutani. But Sukshma Panchabhutani is the is the seed form. We are not able to access that. But the sky, space, no, you can feel space. You are conscious of space. That is Sthula Akasha. And Sthula Akasha is the Akasha which is Tanmatra, Sukshma Akasha Panchabhuta, but after Pachikara. So now you're looking at Sthula Prapancha Akasha. And now he says here that Sthula Prapancha Akasha is the body of Hiranyagarbha. Do you see a contradiction there?
Yes. Mhm.
What is the contradiction?
Hiranyagarbha we understand as Sukshma
Correct. And
Prapancha.
therefore, Sthula Akasha should actually be Shariram for Virat, not Hiranyagarbha. Right. So that is one interpretation. Shankara says you can take it that here Hiranyagarbha has to be taken as identical with Virat. Alternatively, he gives another explanation that he says the body of Hiranyagarbha is very subtle, like Akasha. And that is why Akasha Sharira. So, which is a better? Both are, interpretations given by Shankaracharya. But if you look at all our discussions, which do you think is a better interpretation? That Sthula Akasha is Hiranyagarbha Sharira, or you can take Hiranyagarbha as Virat, or that Hiranyagarbha is very subtle, all pervading, and therefore it is said that he has Akasha Shariram. Which do you think is more appropriate given the context of the discussions which we just had?
So the last one where you said it is Akash-like.
Why? What is the logic of your argument?
Because Hiranyagarbha cannot be Sthul. Hiranyagarbha cannot be Sthul, Shadi. That is why.
That is
So
why.
we are talking of the journey of Sukshma Sharir. So it has to be Sukshma
Look at the
Akasha.
mantras we just read. What is the mantras? Apnoti manaspati. Manaha is what? Sukshma or Sthula.
Sukshma.
Then Shotrapatir Vijnanapati. Jnanendriya is Sthula or Sukshma.
Sukshma.
Vakpati is Chakshushpati. Sukshma, Sthula,
Sukshma.
all Sukshma. And therefore,
Sukshma.
while Shankaracharya, we bow to him, he has given both interpretations. We should take what is more convincing. More convincing for us is what? That the body of Hiranyagarbha is very, very subtle, is all pervading, and because of the subtlety, it is compared to Akasha, which is also very subtle. Why? Because you can only be conscious of it. None of your uh, Jnanendriyas, none of your Indriyas have direct access. You are aware of it because it is a space like, subtlety is so subtle that you can't actually point out that this is space, but yet you are aware of it. And therefore, Akasha Shariram, very subtle. Okay. And again, Shankara adds after all this, he said that remember that we are talking about Prakritam Brahma, Hiranyagarbha. Prakritam Brahma is the Brahman which is responsible for Prakriti. So Saguna Brahman we're talking about. So again he is pointing out that it is indeed Hiranyagarbha we're talking about, not Virat. Okay, so that's then Satyatma Pranaramam Mana. are the next words. So all the meanings have to come from the Upanishads because by themselves they have no meaning. Satya Atma. What is the normal meaning? Come on, guys.
Existence principle.
Brahman.
Brahman. Okay. So Shankara says, don't take that meaning. You break up that Satyam into two things. Sat plus Tyat. Okay. And he says Sat means the uh, visible universe, the visible three elements, and Tyat means the invisible universe, the invisible three elements. So Sat means Murta Prapancha or Murta Panchabhutani, and Tyat means Amurta Prapancha without form, and or Amurta Panchabhutani. So which is the Murta Panchabhutani? The Panchabhutani with form, which are those?
Agni, Jal, and Prithvi.
Agni, Jalam, Prithvi. So Sat has to be taken as Agni, Jalam, Prithvi, or you can expand that to Samashti and take it as the entire visible universe. And Tyat means other two, Vayu and Akasha. You can expand that to take it as the entire Amurta Prapancha. So Sat and Tyat, Satyam, Sat plus Tyat, actually has to be taken as Murta Amurta. Murta and Amurta. And therefore the body of Hiranyagarbha has got both the visible universe as well as the invisible universe, which means it has Virat and Hiranyagarbha's body also, right? The physically visible universe and the invisible universe are both part of his body. So this is the first meaning of Satya Atma. And this is why he said initially that you can take Hiranyagarbha as Virat also, because the Murta universe is what? Is obviously Virat only. Okay. This is the first meaning. Okay. Then he says you can also take it as with another meaning, which has the character of Murta Amurta. That which has the Murta Amurta Swarupam, that can be called as Satya Atma. Right? So remember, this is all coming from Upanishad called Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So whenever we actually see the Upanishad, we'll see this exact mantra also. Then, in the second meaning of Satyatma, Shankara says that you have to take Nirguna Brahman as the true Swarupam of Saguna Brahman. So it's a very beautiful thing. Satyatma. Nirguna Brahman has to be taken as the real nature, real Swarupam of Saguna Brahman. There is no Saguna Brahman without Nirguna Brahman. Right? So this, as you can see, the first meaning of Sat and Tyat, or that is to say, Murta, Amurta Prapancha as the body, that is from the Vyavaharika point of view, Vyavaharika Drishti. The second meaning is what? That Satya Atma really means that it is the Satyam behind that Saguna Brahman. What is the Satyam behind Saguna Brahman? That is Nirguna Brahman. And therefore the second meaning is from the Paramarthika Drishti. I hope it's clear. Both the meanings are acceptable. One meaning, the physical body, which is consisting of both visible and invisible, is from the Vyavaharika Satyam. And the other meaning is that this Satya Atma, who is Hiranyagarbha, the Satyam behind that Atma is really Nirvana Brahman. That is from the Paramarthika Drishti. Okay. The next word is Pranaramam. So Pranaramam again has two meanings. So it can be broken up into prana and aramam. Aramam. So Aramam is the recreation ground, the playground. Prana refers to the sense organs and the sense objects. Right? So Pranaramam means the recreation ground for Hiranyagarbha is what? All the sense organs and all the sense objects of all the jivas. So he finds his recreation consists of utilizing the sense organs of all the jivas to interact with all the sense objects. And that is the meaning of pranara. Okay. Then there is another meaning of pranarama. It says that because of that Hiranyagarbha alone, the jiva is able to enjoy the sense objects by using the sense organs. Do you see the difference? Two meanings are there, but the focus is different. But ultimate meaning is what? Because of Hiranyagarbha alone, sense organs can enjoy sense objects. One is from Hiranyagarbha's point of view, saying that he is the one who is enjoying the sense objects. One is from Jiva's point of view, saying that Jiva is enjoying sense objects because of the fact that consciousness is provided by Hiranyagarbha. Okay. Any questions so far? Actually, it's pretty simple. I mean, not very difficult. So I thought I would not explain too much.
Acharya
Yeah.
understanding Hiranyagarbha becomes very confusing at times when we also know Brahmaji as the firstborn and
Yes.
also understand it as the totality of
Yes.
all the Sukshma Shariram.
Yes.
So how is it possible that the
No, when you are saying firstborn, the firstborn actually, it evokes the image of some entity. That is the problem of a person. You drop that person concept. What is firstborn from Antaryami?
Hiranyagarbha?
That's what it means, firstborn. It doesn't mean that a guy has come around, you know.
So it's not, we don't consider it as a jiva.
Hiranyagarbha. You
Only
can say it's a glorified position. All those things are okay. Ultimately, that position is being equated to a glorified jiva. That is fine. Why? Because Hiranyagarbha has got an end. So it cannot be Ishvara. Ishvara is only Antaryami. But it doesn't mean that the jiva a jiva consists of what? Physical body, subtle body, and causal body.
Karan Sharira, yes.
Right. So the causal body for Hiranyagarbha is what?
Antaryami.
Antaryami. Does Antaryami have a beginning or an end?
Antaryami has no end.
And no beginning.
It is Anadi, Ananta.
Anadi Ananta. Therefore, that is the causal body. What is subtle body? Hiranyagarbha. What is physical body? Virat. When you combine them all, it's a jiva, right? Even, let me tell you, even your causal body, our causal body, it has no beginning and no end. I hope you are aware of that.
Yes, because it's only for understanding as on a Vyashti level, otherwise it is not
Only that.
different.
So it's a good question to ask here. What happens to your causal body when you get moksha? And after that, okay, and when you get moksha, let's stop there. What happens to your individual Vyashti karma shariram when you get moksha?
It just gets into the Karana Prapancha, and but that portion which leads to the Ajnanam, that is blocked. That's, I think, what you explained once.
Yeah. So see the ability of the individual karma shariram, the Vyashti karma shariram, to reflect consciousness is taken away because of the jnana. Not that it is destroyed. And therefore, Anadi and Ananta remains for the individual karma sharinam also.
Right.
So that is the reason why you can't say that. Loosely, I think when we talked about it in Tattvaboda, at that point of time, we said that all the three bodies are destroyed, which is not really true. In fact, nothing is destroyed. The physical Panchabhutani goes back to the Samashti Panchabhutani. The Sukshma Panchabhutani goes back to Samashti Sukshma Panchabhutani. And the Karma remains as it is without being. Because remember, you really can't distinguish that this is an individual Karma Shairam and this is a what they call Samashti Karma Shairam. This is all for understanding only. That is why it's called Anirvachaniya. You cannot really explain, you cannot categorize. So
Yeah,
that thing
that is why.
once you got your head around that, wrapped that, and accepted that because Shastra says so.
Because once you try imagining it or visualizing it as a jiva, as an individual, it becomes so much more confusing.
That's why the Shastras, prescription has to be taken. Ultimately, remember, it's all mithya, right? But it is from the mithya body and the mithya mind that you are understanding the mithya universe. That much understanding we should keep in mind. But you can't analyze beyond a point. And that's what Shastra is telling you.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. What is the next one? Mana Ananda. Mana Ananda means Hiranyagarbha is that principle for which all the happiness comes from the Samashti Manaha. So Mana Ananda. So that means the Hiranyagarbha is the totality of all the Ananda which is there in all the minds. Right. So you can have a question. Supposing you say that Hiranyagarbha is identified with total mind, which is what you are saying. Mana Anandam. Hiranyagarbha is the Samashti Manaha. It is okay to say that the total Ananda for Hiranyagarbha is the totality of the Ananda in all the infinite Jiva's minds. What about Samashti Dukham? Because every Jiva also has Dukham. So will not Hiranyagarbha be said to be infinitely happy because of the total happiness, but also infinitely unhappy because of the infinite sorrow? What is the answer here? These are all Mananam questions which you should be asking yourself.
Logically, it sounds that he should also have the totality of Dukkham, but we also understand from this statement, Mana Anandam, and also the word Hiranya, that being the knowledge principle itself, Dukkham doesn't form a part of it, or Dukkham is not there at that level.
Dukkham is very much there because it is part of the total mind. But remember that to be born as Hiranyagarbha, what is the condition that you should have as a Jiva? We are talking about Jiva, Hiranyagarbha.
Exalted Punya.
Exalted Punyam. Because of that exalted Punyam, sorrow cannot touch him. And that is why Hiranyagarbha, even though sorrow is present in his mind, it cannot touch him. And on a small note, you should be knowing that also because after so many years of Vedantic study, there is a fair amount, predominant punyam in your mind. And you think back to maybe 20 or 30 years ago, small things would upset you, would make you angry, sorrowful. Do they do that now? No. So if a little bit of punyam in our minds can do this, imagine what the extraordinary punyam for Hiranyagarbha can do. So no sorrow can touch him. Okay. Then Shanti Samriddham Amritam. So Shanti is peace. Samriddham is prosperity. So that is one meaning. That Hiranyagarbha is the very embodiment of peace and prosperity. That is one meaning. In the other meaning, Samriddham can be taken as wealth. So Samriddham can have two meanings. Prosperity plus Shanti is the quality of Hiranyagarbha. That is one meaning. Then Samriddham can be taken as adjective to Shanti. So in the earlier one, Shanti and Samriddham are both nouns. So peace and prosperity. And therefore, Hiranyagarbha is the embodiment of peace and prosperity. In the second meaning, Shanti is noun. Samriddham is adjective. So the one who has abundance, Samriddham of peace, abundance of peace. His wealth is his peace. That is the second meaning. So, and because he is recognized in this form, Shankara says he is called Shanti Samriddham. Amritam is, of course, better. Then iti prachina yogya upasva. So, he prachina yogya. So, Shankara does not comment upon prachina yogya. But this is the Guru addressing the Sishya. So, we can take it as the Shishya's name. Okay, Shankara in his commentary does not talk about this quite strangely. But some sub-commentators have interpreted Prachina to mean the Prachina Vidya. Which is what is Prachina Vidya?
This Vidya, Brahma Vidya.
Brahma Vidya. And Yogya is one who is eligible. So Prachina Yogya means the one who is eligible for this ancient Upasana Vidya. Therefore, he is a Vaidika. He is a Adhikari. So Prachina Yogya can be interpreted as the name of the Sishya. It can be interpreted as this Upasana is being taught to a person who is a Vaidika, who is eligible to have this ancient Vidya, to perform this ancient Vidya. And therefore, iti upasva. May you meditate in this manner. With this, Hiranyagarbha has finished the Hiranyagarbha. Guru has finished the instructions on the Hiranyagarbha Upasana. Okay, now we will. Rajniji, will you please chant the seventh Anuvak?
Om Acharya
Om.
Om Prithivyantariksham Dyaurdisho Vantaradishaha Agnirvayuradityashchandrama Nakshatrani आप ओषधयो वनस्पतय आकाश आत्मा इत्यधिभूतम् अथाध्यात्मम् प्राणो व्यानोपान उदानः समानः चक्षुश्रोत्रम् मनोवाक्त्वक चर्ममागुस्सगस्नावास्थिमज्जा एतदधिविधाय ऋषिरवोचत पाङ्क्तं वा इदगुं सर्वम् पाङ्क्तेनैव पाङ्क्तगुस्पृणोतीति. Thank you.
So, Prithvi. Prithvi is earth. Antariksha is the space between the Prithvi and earth. So, Prithvi and Dhyau. The space between them is Antariksha, the sky. And Dishaha, the directions, the four directions. And Antardishaha, the four subsidiary directions. Vayu, Agni, Aditya, Chandrama, Nakshatrani, Apaha, Oshadaya is herbs, Vanaspataya is trees, Akasha is space, Atma, here is Virat. Then Iti. These factors constitute Adhibhutam. And Atha, Adhyatma. Now follows the Adhyatma Vidya, Adhyatma Upasana, which has three groups of five factors each. So Prana, Vyana, apana, udana, samana, chakshu, shrotra, manaha, vak, tvak. Charma is skin, mamsam is flesh, snava is muscle, asthi is bone, majja is bone marrow, adhividhaya, having revealed them, etat adhividhaya, having revealed them, Rishi Avochan, the Rishi said, Sarvam vai idam panktam panchaha. Panktaha. All these indeed are panktams. Panktam means the 5 groups. And panktena eva, with these panktas, iti pranoti, one should meditate paktam on the panktas. Okay, so let's see what it means. This Anuvaka is also talking about the same upasana, Hiranyagarbha upasana, Saguna Brahma upasana. Now, in the last Anuvaka, where was Hiranyagarbha invoked? In the mind, in our minds. Now, here we are going to change the alapana. So, this is the 4th upasana called the Pankta Brahma upasana. And here we will, as of course, as usual, we will visualize the samashti, the macro, on the vyashti, the micro. But here the presentation is different. The universe is divided into 3 groups, each group having 5 members. Okay, 5 members, 3 groups, 5 members. And each of these groups is called a Panktaha. A group having 5 members, Panktaha. That is the presentation for the universe. Similarly, the Jiva is divided into 3 Panktahas. Jagat, universe, is 3 Panktahas. Jiva also 3 Panktahas. And therefore you have a Samashti Panktatrayam. 3 groups of 5 members of the Samashti. So technical name, Samashti Panktatrayam. Each word is important. Trayam, 3 groups, Pankta, 5 members, Samashti of the universe. Similarly, Vyashti Pankta Trayam. Jiva, 3 groups, 5 members. What is the Upasana on? The Upasana is on the identity between the two, the Aikyam between the two, and this is called Panta Brahma Upasana. What do we have to do? We have to visualize the Samashti Panktatrayam. So I'm using that word, but whenever I use that word, it is the Samashti divided in 3 groups of 5 members each. So we have to visualize the Samashti Panktatrayam on the Vyashti Panktatrayam. Remember, the Vyashti Panktatrayam is what? The Jiva itself. And therefore, in simple words, when you say visualize Samashti Panktatrayam on Vyashti Panktatrayam, what are you doing? Samashti Panktatrayam is nothing but Hiranyagarbha, the whole universe, Saguna Brahma. This Saguna Brahma is being invoked on Vyashti Panktatrayam, which is you yourself. And therefore, Brahmaji is being invoked upon you. Only these technical names are there. Is that clear? I hope. Don't get confused with the names. Now, the question is, why should such a complicated division of 5 be given? So in Karma Kanda, many Vedic rituals are known by the name Panktaha, because for every ritual, for every karma, 5 factors are needed for the completion, for the successful completion. And that is why they are called Panktaha. Right? The ritual itself is called Panktaha. What are the 5 factors? Yajamana. Who's Yajamana?
The one who's doing
The
it.
ritualist, the one who's performing the
Ritualist.
yajna.
and more importantly, Yajamana Patni. So Yajamana 1, Yajamana Patni 2, and this is always for a family. These particular rituals are for a family. Therefore, Yajamana, Yajamana Patni, Yajamana Putra, the man, the wife, and the child, the son. These are the three factors. Then there are two more factors which are very important. One is Manushya Vittam, which is what?
Money.
Money. Manushya Vittam is worldly wealth. You need bank account to be there. Why? Because you have to pay the pujaris, you have to bring this stuff, whatever is required, and spend money inviting people, all that. So without Manushya Vittam, it is not possible for the ritual to be completed. And the fifth one is Daiva Vittam. So Daiva Vittam is basically the mantras, divine wealth. So divine wealth are the mantra which are being used. And therefore the five factors which are necessary for the ritual to be completed, Yajamana, Yajamana Patni, Putraha, Manushya Vittam, and Daiva Vittam. Therefore the ritual is called Panktaha. And that is why, because this classification is already present in the Karma Kanda, here the Upanishad assumes that all of us are familiar with the Karma Kanda. And therefore we will be familiar with the concept of this Panktaha. Therefore it divides the universe and the jiva into panktas. Okay. What first you take the samashti panktaha. You look at the first. What does it say? Prithivya antariksham dhyaur disho avantara deshaha. You can make out Prithivya antariksham dhyaur disho avantara deshaha. So Prithvi. Okay. Now the first panktam is given here. The first panktam means group of five. It is called the Loka Panktam. Can you see why there are five lokas over here? So, or there are in these lokas there are five. In this five there are majority of lokas. So Prithvi, the first one, it's a loka. Bholoka. Antariksham, the intermediate space between Suvarlok, that heaven, Swarga and Prithvi, is called Antariksham. It's also called Bhuvarloka. So first Prithvi, Bhuloka, Antariksham, Bhuvarloka, Dhyau, Swargaloka, also called Suvarloka. Okay. Then Dishaha, four main directions. Avantara Dishaha, four subsidiary directions. What are subsidiary directions?
Southeast,
Northeast,
northeast.
northwest, southeast, southwest.
So that's right. So four subsidiary directions. And Shankara says this is called Lokapantam. These are given the name of Lokapantam. These group of five are given the name of Lokapantam. Remember that out of the five members, three are lokas. Puloka, Overloka, Soverloka. So taking the majority, this group of five is called Lokapan. First group of five. This is all Samashti only. Okay. The second group of five is Agnir, Vayur, Aditya, Chandrama, Nakshatrani. Agnihi, Vayuhu, Adityaha, Chandramaha, and Nakshatrani. Right? This name is the name. What will be the name for this? Devata Pantam. Because all are Devatas. Agni Devata, Vayu Devata, Aditya Devata, etc. That is the second group of five. Right? The first group was given as Lokapantam. Second group is Devata Pantam. Then the third group of five, Apa, Oshadayaha, Vanaspatayaha, Akashaha, and Atma. Right? Apaha is waters, seas. Oshadayaha is plants. Vanaspati is trees. Akashaha is space. And Atma. So Oshadaya and Vanaspataya refer to the Prithvi Tattva because they are born from Prithvi. Right? So Prithvi Mahabhutanis. And Atma means, Shankara says, Atma has to be taken as Virat, the entire Sthula Prapancha. Why is the meaning taken? Because Apaha, Oshadayaha, Vanaspatayaha, and Akashaha are what Panchamahabhutanis. And what is the corresponding one, the fifth one? Remember, we're talking Samashti. We're talking about the Samashti group of five. So Apaha, Oshadaya, Vanaspata, Akasha are all Samashti Panchamahabhutani. Therefore, the fifth one must be Virat. That's what Shankara says. And therefore, he gives a name, Bhuta Pankam. Pankam. So you've got Loka Pankam, Devata Pankam, and Bhuta Pankam. And mantra says, Iti Adhibhutam. This is the Adhibhutam Panchakam. Bhuta Panchakam. Adhibhutam Pankam. And Shankara says this has to be taken as Upalakshanam for Samashti. And therefore, Devata Panchakam and Loka Panchakam also have to be added here, which completes the discussion on Samashti Panchakam. I hope it's clear. This is the breaking up of the Samashti, the universe, the macro, into five groups of three each. Each has been given a name.
Acharyaji,
Yes.
Virat includes everything. So why Virat is taken separately along
Because
with this?
Samashti, Atma. Atma is what? The mantra says Atma.
We are
Atma is everything.
putting Virat with water, herbs, trees, space.
You are thinking of Vyashti, then that's why I got confused. It is not Vyashti. The discussion is Samashti, and therefore it is the Samashti Mahabhutam you're thinking of. Samashti Akasha, Samashti waters, Samashti Agni. When interpreting it, very, very careful. Context is very, very important. Okay. Now, Atha Adhyatma. So, Adhyatma is the Vyashti. Therefore, he's coming to the Vyashti Panchakam, the micro Panchakam. And okay. So, Prano, Vyano, Pana, Udana, Samanaha. Okay, this is the first group of five. And this is called the Vayu Panchakam because Vayu is a general name for Prana. So, Prana, Vyana, Apana, Udana, Samana. Remember, now we are talking about Vyashti. First Panchakam is Vayu Panchakam. The second one is Chakshushotra Mano Vaktvak. So, this is called Indriya Pankam. Remember, these classifications by names are not in the mantra, okay? They are a part of Shankaracharya's commentary. But since he is making us understand, he gives certain names. So, Vayu Pankam is the first Panchakam consisting of the five pranas. Indriya Panchakam is the second Pankam consisting of Chakshus, Shotra, Mano, Vak, Tvak. Chakshu is eyes, Shrotra is ears, mind, Vak is speech, Tvak is organ of touch. Then is the third one. Third one is Charma, Mamsa, Snava, Asti, Majja. These are all the biological ingredients of the body. So in Ayurveda, they call it dhatu. This is not the dhatu of grammar, okay? This is the dhatu of Ayurveda. They sustain the body. And what are they? Charma. The charma is not the first layer of skin, okay? It's the inner layer of the skin. So they are just immediately below the visible layer. Mamsam is flesh, snava is muscle, asti is bone, and majja is bone marrow. So these are the three panktakams, and Shankara calls this dhatu pankchakam. Dhatu is the It comes from the Ayurveda word I told you. Dhatu Panktam. Dhatu Panktam means the support of the body. So dhatu is a support for this. And these are called dhatus, therefore, dhatu Pank. And these three, that means 3 into 5, 15 members are the classifications of the individual jiva. And it is simple. Similarly, the external world also has three panktams. We have already seen that the samashti, the external world, has been divided into three of five, consisting of 5 members each. And here the jiva has been divided into 3 groups consisting of 5 members each. So in this manner, Shankara writes, Etad Adividhaya Rishir Avochat. This is your mantra. Etat. In this manner, Adhividhaya. Adhividhaya can be taken as visualizing. So in this manner, after visualizing, Rishihi Avochataha. The Rishi tells the student, instructs the student. So again, here Shankara adds one very important point. The Rishi can be taken as the Veda itself. Veda is saying you visualize in this manner, you visualize the Samashti or the Vyashti. And then what is Veda saying? Panktam va idam sarvam. Everything, idam sarvam means everything. Sarvam means Samashti as well as Vyashti is va panktam, is nothing but panktam only. Nothing but these groups of 5 each. 3 groups of 5 each. And pankte neva panktam spranoti iti. Pankte neva here means with the help of the Adhyatma Panktam, with the help of the Vyashti Panktatrayam, the 3 groups of 5 each in the Vyashti, with the Pankteneva means that with the help of the 3 groups of 5 members of Vyashti, of micro, what should you do? Panktam Bahyam Spranoti. The Panktam Bahyam is Samashti Panktam. The universe should be filled up by the Pranota here means Purayati, filled up by the Upasaka. So this is the instructions, which in simple English means how do you fill up Samashti with Vyashti? It simply means visualize the entire Samashti Panktatrayam on yourself, the Vyashti Panktatrayam, which is basically saying that imagine that the Samashti is you. So it is Aikya Upasana. The non-difference between Vyashti and Samashti should be meditated upon. Again, I am saying this is not Aikya Jnanam. This is not Jnanam. This is imagination. This is visualization. Just like visualizing Lord Shiva or Shivalingam. What is the advantage? By regularly visualizing the totality, your mind will be expanded. Right? And this upasana is called Panta Brahma Upasana. This upasana can be practiced as Sakama and Nishkama also. And you know the benefits, you know the phalam, right? Sakama Upasana on Lord Brahmaji will give you the fruits of going to Brahmaloka and becoming Hiranyagarbha after the death of your physical body. So Hiranyagarbha Prapti or Brahmaloka Prapti is the result of Sakama Upasana. Nishkama Upasana will give you Chitta Shuddhi in this life. Okay, with this, Anuvaka 7 is over. Pranoti here means strengthens you, strengthens your mind, makes it expanded, makes it stronger. So with this, the 7th Anuvaka is over. The next Anuvaka is Omkara Upasana, which you will see in the next class.
So Acharyaji, this is also a kind of abheda upasana as
Abheda Upasana. You are visualizing. Yeah.
and so all the Vyashti Panktatraya, all the Samashti Panktatraya are to be visualized
Yeah. In
on
short,
the
Lord Brahma.
Vyashti.
Yeah. Very short, the entire universe is to be visualized on you. Lord Brahmaji is to be visualized on yourself.
But
Not
as
just Lord Brahma. Yeah.
as
Tell me.
those 5 factors on 5 Vyashtis.
Yes.
So it's quite tough and very confusing.
So that is why Vedic Upasanas are no longer done. See, remember, these are not the instructions for the Upasana. The step by step is not being given here. That would be studied in Karma Kanda, which is no longer studied. So only those people who study Karma Kanda and from a guru, they will know how to exactly do the Upasana. We are just being given the details for our understanding. You can't do the Upasana based on this. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience. Om.
Thank you, Swamiji.